Tom Neale, an ordinary New Zealander born in 1902, led a conventional life until a unique opportunity altered his course. Intrigued by survival and bushcraft, he eagerly embraced the chance to become a stand-in storekeeper. Neale's responsibilities took him to various islands within the Cook Island region, where he stood in for store owners during their holidays or temporary absences. This not only allowed him to explore places he had always desired to visit, but also led to a fateful encounter with Robert Dean Frisbie, an author who regaled Neale with stories about an island named Suaro, where Frisbie claimed to have lived for a brief period. The allure of these tales fueled Neale's desire to witness Suaro firsthand. In 1945, seizing an opportunity on a passing supply ship, he journeyed to the island and immediately fell in love with it, determining that Suaro would become his lifelong haven. By October 1952, Neale was prepared to make the move to Suaro, learning that it had remained uninhabited since the end of the war 7 years prior. Armed with all the supplies he could gather, including 2 cats, he arrived on the island. The remnants of a coast watcher's camp greeted him, featuring a badly damaged hut, an old boat, and water tanks. The island's previous inhabitants had left behind chickens and pigs, which had turned wild by the time Neale arrived. Despite the potential usefulness of these animals in a survival situation, wild pigs proved to be destructive. They systematically destroyed any garden Neale attempted to plant, prompting him to adapt. Neale stored his seeds and constructed a raised hut standing several feet off the ground. Over the following months, he speared the pigs, subsisting on their meat. Once the pigs were depleted, he successfully planted and sustained himself with seafood, chicken meat and eggs, as well as local fruits like coconuts, pawpaw, and breadfruit. Given the abundant shallow water around the island, the sea provided a diverse menu, featuring oysters, crab, lobster, and various fish species. In the initial stages of his stay, Neale encountered no major injuries or mishaps. 10 months after his arrival, a couple sent by the British consul in Tahiti visited him, reporting back that all was well. They tasked Neale with rebuilding a pier destroyed during a storm in 1942, and given his lack of time constraints, he accepted the challenge. The reconstruction effort took Neale 6 months of hard work, but tragically, just 1 day after completion, a storm struck and obliterated the pier. Undeterred, Neale chose not to embark on a second attempt at rebuilding it. In May 1954, Neale injured his back while throwing an anchor from his boat. Lying almost paralyzed in his hut for 4 days, he was fortuitously discovered by a passing yacht. The couple on board stayed with him until he regained mobility. After their departure, they alerted the Cook Island government, leading to a ship retrieving Neale 2 weeks later. Suffering from severe arthritis in his back, Neale chose to stay in Rarotonga for treatment. During this time, he married a woman named Sarah Hauer and had 2 children. However, his connection to Suaro remained strong, prompting his return in April 1960, this time equipped with an extensive range of supplies. Neale resided on the island for just over 3.5 years before deciding to return to Rarotonga due to a surge of pearl divers disrupting the tranquility of his island home. Remaining on Rarotonga for 4 years, he returned to Suaro in June 1967. Living on the island for a decade, Neale fell ill with stomach cancer. Seeking treatment, he returned to Rarotonga and passed away 8 months later. His final resting place is in the RSA cemetery in Rarotonga.